Our guest tonight is MJ, Michael Lewis. His website is called Pang Radio. He is a radio host and owner of the Inception Radio Network. He does a show on Sunday nights and talks about everything kind of fringy as well. And again, my MJ, thank you so much for staying up late and being with us here in the wee hours of the morning.
No problem, Pat. Like I said, it is an honor to be on a show I listen to often.
Well, thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit about your MJ's Healthy Way. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, well, what MJ's Healthy Way is, it's an alternative to the mainstream vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. If you look at a lot of our mainstream stuff out there, it's full of a lot of harmful chemicals and man-made things. And if you think about 20 to 30, 40 years ago, all these diseases like autism and Alzheimer's, it was never around 30 or 40 years ago. And I think a lot of that may have to do with, what's being put in our foods and in our supplements. But MJ's Healthy Way gives a person an alternative to getting the natural side of things. I mean, there's over 400 tests for pestidue residues, and then the company does about 80,000 tests for purity of the products. So nothing's put in the bottles or in their products that has nothing to do with man-made stuff. So it's great stuff. I mean, if you look at a lot of baby stuff, it's really sick to find out that a lot of that stuff contains formaldehyde in it. And that's something, don't want to say we embalm dead people with,
Right. So how long have you been part of Shakely or Shackley?
Shackley, I've been part of them for probably going on 7 years. So I'm very proud to work for the company. Very proud.
Wow. Very, very good. So people, if they want to get your products, they can go to, is it MJ's Healthy Way, myshakely.com, and that'll get you to your site.
Yeah, or else you can go to mjshealthyway.com. It's mjshealthyway.com. Yeah, I'd be glad to help anybody out with a natural health alternative. It's definitely made a difference in my life and a lot of my other customers. So I really appreciate helping people. I think it's great that there are different alternatives out there to our mainstream vitamins and stuff like that.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, one thing we've been, you might have heard us mention, we've kind of, we've been doing this show for a long time, and, I love talking about all the fringy stuff, but we're going to kind of take a little bit of a turn, as I've mentioned on a couple shows, and we've actually got some guests lined up in the next couple of weeks. I've had such a fascination with preparedness and being prepared, and I know there's the preppers shows out there, the extreme preppers, and I kind of get a kick out of it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think most of those people, some may agree, some may not, but I think most of those people, if things went to hell in a handbag, they'd they're doing it not for preparedness, but I think more of it's kind of an obsession with them. But I think that people, especially when we see things like this mudslide, the earthquake that caused the mudslide, and here in Salt Lake City, of course, we've got the Wasatch Fault. We're due for a big one here, and there can also be financial crises and stuff like that. I mean, I think the world is still in a huge state of uproar. But bringing on people to talk about being more prepared, and the items you sell really kind of fall in that category. I mean, you have a lot of things that you offer that people probably should stock up on and put away.
Oh yeah. I mean, you hear there was a study really saying that supplementation is not needed, but definitely, I'll tell you what, if you're not supplementing properly into your body, you're definitely going to feel the difference. It's going to be harder on your organs, stuff like that. And one thing mentioning on preparedness too, Pat, what if the internet and the grid went down? Where would we be?
Yeah.
I mean, we would be in some big trouble here, the way we are such an automated society. And some of these people may be preparing for that day we get that solar flare blast or some terrorism takes over, our grid or something. I mean, it could happen.
Right, exactly. Well, and we've become, in this country, well, as a world, as a society, but especially in the United States here, we've become so dependent on the internet for our for our banking and for our buying and stuff like that. I mean, Christmas, what the numbers this year for Christmas shopping, hard to believe we're coming out of a recession or still in a recession. I think was, in the tens of billions of dollars. It far exceeded the big, the walk up purchases. And again, we really do. We kind of hang our hat on the internet, and we're so addicted to it with Facebook and Twitter and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, it's if there was something really catastrophic, losing that would probably be the thing that would hurt most people.
Oh, I agree. We don't watch any TV really. I mean, there's ways to download your favorite show on the internet, so there's really no need. I'm not a big TV fan. I love my football and baseball, but we would be in some real deep trouble if that occurred, and we would have to go back to living, like we lived in the 1800s, local gardens, stuff like that. But that's something we need to reach back and start doing again, is being more community based and instead of being so globalized. Exactly.
Well, yeah, and again, it's. I think sometimes picking up a book isn't such a bad thing. That's the thing with today's kids. I mean, they just while we like to promote social media and all this other stuff, I think that some of these kids need to get outside and breathe a little fresh air. I know they get home from school, and most of them, they get off the bus, they run in, and within 5 minutes they're on the computer, and you hear the keyboard clacking until dinner time, and then until they go to bed. It's we are somewhat addicted to it.
Oh yeah, we are definitely an automated society, and down the road that might be our biggest downfall if we lose the grid or lose all electricity. I mean, it's really going to put people in a state of shock. I mean, thinking if that happened around here at the moment, well, where we're near 0 degrees, to have no running furnace or electricity to run that. I mean, what would I do? Definitely would be out starting a fire in the yard.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring on some guests on this show to kind of talk about, again, not the crazy prepper type thing, but again, how to do a neighborhood garden. What are some food? Talk about food storage. I know a lot of people would love to have a big amount of food storage, but a lot of people can't afford it. But what are good things? What are good things to have? So again, and it all kind of ties together a little bit at the end of the day. It's all I'll call it fringe living, if you will, to kind of pull it all in. But a couple of questions that actually came in for you, MJ. I want to go ahead and post them up to you. It said, "What is your favorite paranormal story?"
Favorite paranormal story. I'm gonna go back to an Art Bell interview. It was a guy that was in the woods hunting with his dog. I can't recall. He was actually a doctor or a professor at a local university in California, and this happened, I believe, in the 90s. He was out hunting in the woods with his dog and came across this black object like obelisk floating in the woods. And what it had ended up doing is somehow seeing him, and it actually disintegrated his dog, he claimed, and then he was able to capture an alien type entity and get it in his trunk. He thought it was dead, I believe, and then he brought it home, put it in his freezer chest in the garage, and whatever this creature was, he had it in his garage for a certain amount of time. It would screech and howl and try to get out of the chest, and I think eventually he came home one day and the government had taken, well, we won't say the government, it had just been missing. But to me, recalling that, listening to that eerie story on Art Bell, I was just glued. And he's interviewed the guy twice. I'd have to do a little research. He was a professor at a local college down there. But the guy had to move to Canada because of the ridicule and stuff like that. But to me, that is one of the strangest stories I've ever heard. He kept this entity alive in a freezer, and they'd go in the garage to have beers, and it would bang on the garage and try to get out. They'd have to keep it in there. That just is eerie to me.
Well, and where did he find this thing? Where was it? What part of the country was it from?
I believe California. He was in the woods, and he seen that object, and I don't know if he shot at it or somehow hit it with an object and knocked it out, and put it in his trunk and brought it home and put it in his freezer. There are pictures of it on the web too. There's some on YouTube. I'd have to do a little research, but It is an amazing story. It's one of the strangest things I have ever heard. I'll even get you that info on that, Pat. It's truly amazing, that story.
I'd love to hear about it. What do you think about you being a Bigfoot researcher? What do you think about I believe the guy's name is Rick Dwyer, if I'm not mistaken, that claims he has a dead Bigfoot and is supposedly going to haul this thing all over the country and kind of put it on exhibit. But of course, he's looking to charge people.
Yeah, I've read a little bit about that, and the one thing is with him and this Bigfoot, it's a possibility. I don't want to say it isn't a real Bigfoot, but he's also, I believe, been a hoaxer in the past. So that's where it's hard to believe that this is really a Bigfoot. But you never know. I'm not going to say anything. I haven't seen the thing, but you would think if this was real that somebody would swoop in on him and basically get this body and it'd be gone. But I don't know if it's showing enough interest of anybody to, for him to break this news to everybody. So I don't know. That's a tough call.
Yeah, I know we had a couple of different Bigfoot researchers on the show. I know one of them, I think it's Steve Culls, was on, and he, I know he's written some books about the hoaxing, but it's been I do follow the Bigfoot. I try to follow a lot of the different forums. Of course, the paranormal research and the cryptozoology one, and that seems to be a really, really hot topic right now. But again, same thing. I kind of wonder if it's somebody just unfortunately trying to make money off of something that's not quite real.
Yeah, and that's the problem with all the fields. You have your hoaxers looking to make the quick buck, and that's what makes the person on the outside look in and think, well, this Bigfoot ain't real. I mean, look at this guy. He shot one. He's got one captured. I mean, that's the validity of the stuff, and it's really hurting all the fields. But I'll tell you what, your Bigfoot researchers, Steve Culls is a great guy, by the way. He was my first big guest on my BTR show when Pang Radio was like probably 4 weeks old. I could not believe I booked him. It's like, I asked him, I'm like, a Bigfoot show. I listened to Steve's show. I go, hey, Steve, would you like to come on the show? And he's like, sure. And I'm like, oh, my God. So my host at the time, I'm like, we actually have a guy that's been on the cable networks coming on. And he's like, whoa, really? But Steve will return to my show maybe once a year. All I have to do is send him a little request. And he is very avid and very, very knowledgeable. Squatch detective. That's who he is.
Yes.
Yeah,
we had him on, and his whole life is dedicated to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's not him, and we had Jeff Hilling on. Jeff again lives up. I believe he's up in your neck of the woods somewhere.
Jeff Hilling is very, very, with less than 100 miles from my house. Jeff is a great person. Patterson Gimlin books are awesome.
Yeah. It's his what I really found interesting about having Jeff on the program is he'll never admit to nothing. He's kind of one of those. I just kind of picture him when you see his picture. He's kind of a mountain man. I think he's just out there. I know he lives in the backwoods. I know the concern when he actually called in is his. He does his phone calling through the internet and is very right on the fringe, right on the edge of reception. He's kind of on the edge of civilization, I think, and I just kind of see him being out there in the woods, just digging around all the time, and that's really what he's doing.
Oh yeah, and another great researcher too locally. Well, state of Minnesota. His name's Abe Del Rio. He's the head of the Minnesota Bigfoot Researching. Abe is gets boots to the ground. He's out in the woods all the time. He's invited me out on some local investigations near because I'm right on the border of Minnesota here too, and just amazing out there. And and I was listening to who was I listening to? Trying to think of his name. Big podcaster. Just not clicking right now. But he had on a guest. Jim Harold. Jim Harold had on a guest from earlier in the year. I was listening to old podcasts. This guy is from California, and he records Bigfoot's talking.
Interesting.
And it's very interesting. I will get the name of that guy for you. Definitely would be a fun guest. He was playing. This Bigfoot was basically garbling, going all right, and they were hooting back to him. He was whistling back, and he records all this.
Yeah, I know it's again these fields. There's so much depth to them, MJ. I mean, there's so much time you can spend digging into this stuff, and I'm kind of like you. I'm kind of a podcast junkie. I don't necessarily sit there and listen to all of them for hours, but it is amazing, and Jim does a great job. We had him on the show just actually a few weeks ago, a couple of times over the years, and he's been doing it a long time. He's kind of the he's like the pioneer of podcasting. He's kind of like the pioneer of all this stuff. He really did. I mean, he doesn't have a huge name out there, but everybody's heard of him.
Oh yeah, he gets amazing numbers for downloads too, and Jim is nothing but a great guy. He's even sent a few guests my way, mentioned my name, and Jim, if you're listening, I appreciate that. That was really nice to hear, getting a referral from Jim Harold to come on Paying Radio. I'm like, I would have never thought that, but Jim is great with his campfire stories. There are some awesome stories in them books too.
Oh yeah. I have a copy of. I've read the second edition. I had a chance to thumb through it, and a lot of cool stuff. That's kind of a unique concept too. He gets a lot of the locals to call in, and people in his area to call in. Another question came in from you. Actually, Bill sent this in. Says, MJ, what was your most memorable show as you being the host for Pang Radio?
Most memorable show, I believe I can think of one. As I first got into MUFON in 2009, UFO Hunters was on the air. It probably was in its third season, its last season, but just love that show. Pat Uskert and Bill Burns. I love the approach to the show. I always thought, wow, would it be great to talk to Bill Burns someday, and I did subscribe to they did have a magazine called UFO Mag, and I sent Bill a little note, and he autographed a magazine for me, which I was like, oh my God, the guy from TV did this and that. later on, did I know I would be producing his show for him on Inception Radio Network, and before I had been into the producing stage, when I was just a show, before I became part owner, I had Bill on my show. We talked about the Jersey Devil. I was so nervous to even talk to him on the air. It was really hard for me to spit off, but my co-host was able to take care of a lot of that, but I was so nervous. But Bill Burns is one of my memorable ones, getting him on the air and talking to him. Now, talking to Bill is like nothing. He's a great guy. Tons of books out there.
Yeah.
And my other show, I would have to go back. For some reason, that thought screen helmet and that Michael Mencken helps people make, that is, I've just never have had anything on there like that. And he is truly not doing it for the money. He works for the government, and he's helping people. And he claims that this Villistat helmet works, and he gives people the instructions to do it. That's one of my most memorable shows there. I mean, there's been so many. I used to keep count, but I'm probably well close to 200 now. And open line shows are always good too, when to get that guest call in and just hear an amazing story of like a wolf-like creature jumping on a picnic table. And these are little stories that you're really not going to hear, but these are from real people. That's what's awesome about the open line show.
Yeah. Oh, it is. We get more, of course, more emailed questions in and stuff. Not as many calls, although it depends. Saturday night, it just depends. But it is interesting, without a doubt. All the different topics. Yeah, Bill. Now, is Bill still on Inception? Is he still with us or no?
No, Bill is currently on another network. We still do play the replays on the show. On Saturdays before your show, there's still a Future Theater replay. It's not that we have broken friendship or ties. They're just, they've moved on to other things. But we're definitely, I'm still in contact with Bill and Nancy. They're great people. I actually had them on my show a few weeks ago, and they're a hoot. But there's things maybe coming down the road. We may see Future Theater, heard on IRN again, but unfortunately, they're not here. And I do miss the show. They're great people. Bill is really knowledgeable. I'd like to have him and Staten on a show together.
Yeah. It's again, it's a good show. I mean, through the years, MJ, with you and Joe and the whole group owning, putting IRN together, you get a lot of hosts that move on. I mean, does it change up a little bit?
At first, it changed up quite a bit. We've had a lot of hosts come and go, but right now, yeah. It's probably, I'm thinking we've probably had 6 to 10 different other shows. Not a lot, but we got a good core of shows right now, and everything is status quo. And a big shout out if anybody's looking for a network to talk about cryptids and Bigfoot. We're definitely always looking for that. I think that's the one thing that IRN still needs is that Bigfoot show. Definitely, I would love to do one. Get my co-host in, my fellow researcher or another researcher, but doing one show a week is actually hard enough, and I don't know how you do it every night, Pat.
Well, it's a calling, MJ.
It sure is.
It is. What we find out, and that's something that, and I've been talking with Joe a little bit, and I have brought it up. I've changed jobs. I'm working for a different company. As a lot of people know, I'm in the information technology business, and I've gone with a different company, and I don't have the flexibility I used to have. I have some, but not what I used to have, and we're actually going to probably resort to doing some pre-recorded shows. We have so many guests, so many interesting people that I would like to bring on, and I will say that 95% of the people that we ask to come on at this time of the night, like yourselves, they'll all do it, because the people that really believe in what they're doing, they want to get the word out, and they'll be here. They will make it a point to come on late at night. Because a lot of people say at this time of the night there's nobody listening, but there's tons of people that work graveyard shifts. We've got a big group of people that listen to us either through IRN or through K-Talk's link that are up in the Detroit area, and they work at an Anheuser-Busch brewery. We got a big group that listens to us up there, and there are people that they start their job at midnight, delivery drivers and what have you. So it is kind of a unique time of the night, but we have a lot of guests that we would like to have on, and just because of the time, I don't want to lose out on the interviews, so I think we're going to probably go ahead and do a handful of them, pre-record them, and then we'll go ahead and insert them in and play them at night, and it'll be fun too. It's again a lot of so many different people out there, so many different subjects to cover, and you hate to miss them because of timing.
Oh yeah. I mean, you even got the possibility of people in there's. I know some great people in Australia that are abduction researchers, and definitely could. It's hard to get somebody from a different part of the world on it. I mean, this time, this may be early morning for somebody somewhere else, but I would guess it's hard for some people to. I set my alarm for about 12:30 and got up pretty easy tonight. It wasn't even a big deal.
Yeah, it's not bad once you get in the swing of it. There are some nights that I fade a little bit, but I don't take a nap or that. I just stay up, and I've kind of got myself to the point where I can get by on. I get home, and as long as I get about 5-6 hours, I'm usually pretty good. My big thing is getting out of here and not doing things around here at night. But another question is. Lister wrote and said, many of the fans would like to see more 2-hour shows. Will this be happening in the future, and what are the complications involved with doing these longer shows?
2-hour shows, I think, are a good thing. It's the only complications we run into is we still, me and Joe still have some, we still have our regular jobs, which someday, it may all pan out where we're going to be here more often. But 2-hour shows, it's not a bad thing at all. I can see doing that. I've had shows, I definitely would love to run an extra half hour on a Sunday night, but, we're going to make arrangements for some of the shows, definitely do that. I think some of, like, Epic Voyages on Monday nights, definitely, that we're running them 2 hours. I mean, when you got a guy, talking to you live from Mount Ararat or, somewhere like that, it's like, let's definitely want to keep this on as long as we can keep going, yeah. But we're looking forward to expanding the 2-hour show, looking for that one new cryptid show, always throwing a shout-out out there. So, because Bill did ask in chat if we have anything new. And we are going to experiment with a live video feed. And Hang Radio will be one of the first shows to do that, and we're going to give it a shot one evening. So look forward to that, listeners, where you can watch my mug on TV.
Yeah. I don't know about watching me on TV at midnight, but I don't more of a radio voice than anything else. Jerry Pippin is interesting. Now, Jerry has been with you guys for a long time, correct?
Yeah, Jerry's been with us pretty much from the get-go, I believe. Probably joined Inception Radio sometime early 2011, and Jerry is definitely a warrior. He's one of the first internet radio broadcasters of this type of ufology and cryptids, and he's been going through some health struggles, but his passion has got him back on the air again, which I believe is amazing. And I'm always throwing out my prayers to Jerry and wishing him back to better health. But I love Jerry. Jerry's had absolutely everybody on.
Yeah, if you go through his website and you look at all the different categories and the people that he's met, of course, before internet he was a broadcaster, regular AM radio, FM radio broadcaster for years, but he keeps going strong, and we do too. We wish him well. I actually want him on the program and talk with him, but I know that right now I think he's trying to get himself in a little bit better physical shape. Is he going to be doing? Is he going to be able to kind of move back to his home studio pretty soon?
Yeah, that's Jerry's wish. He's looking forward to getting back to his home studio soon. And his producer Jane she's awesome. She helps us connect with Jerry, and Jerry is a huge supporter of Inception Radio Network, and he's one of my favorite shows. And I don't get to listen to Jerry a lot because of my Monday shifts, and I usually can't get in and listen too much. But Jerry is he's a mainstay here, and we're glad to have Jerry as a part of Inception Radio Network.
Oh yeah. Well, again, as I've said so many times, so many great shows there that if people have an interest in the stuff we talk about here at night for our local listeners. Again, there are, if you want to listen to, if you're a dedicated K-Talk listener, which we have so many of them, but in your off hours, if you're not listening here, there's shows playing 24/7. You can always catch something on there. And again, just so many good guys like Jerry and yourself, and I know Bill and Nancy moved on, but I mean there'll be more coming through the pipe. And again, I think that would really kind of round out Inception, is to have a cryptozoologist on there. But again, as you know, it just takes a lot of time to do this. And
it does. It does. And I would love to have a serious ghost hunting group too, that are research driven and not just out for the thrill too. I do, that is another subject that it can get interesting. I've had a few ghost groups on too on my show, and that's a lot of work too. That's a lot of investment in equipment doing that ghost hunting stuff. It's amazing. Definitely.
What do you think about all these reality shows, MJ?
I actually do not watch any of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my reality is right at IRN in hearing it live from the guests. Though part of me wants to get on, Finding Bigfoot and watch it, because I do love watching shows like that. But Inception Radio, this is my 7 to 9 o'clock usually every evening. If I'm not doing graduate work or in the house, it's always playing. So I get enough of my fix here to watch the reality shows. I think a lot of them are staged. I've heard of a lot of guests come on my show saying, this occurred, for instance, Bill Burns in the Dulcie episode. I guess there was more going on with stuff in the background where they had seen possible creatures or some weird stuff going on, and they would not air it on TV. So they basically put on what they put on for the entertainment only. That's really why I don't watch it as much.
Yeah. Well, I think initially when a lot of these shows came out initially, I think it was kind of good for the community. It was good for the paranormal, the researchers. Kind of, again, it's that whole being open-minded about things. But sadly, and I think you'll agree to this, so many of them have turned into Keeping Up with the Kardashians type thing. And they've just turned into nothing but more than cheap reality shows. I kind of think that while it educated people and got people to be open-minded early on, now there are so many of them, and they just keep. I mean, I don't have cable at home, but I do get. I look through some of the different websites of the new programs that come up. I didn't realize how many of them there are out there. I mean, there's just tons of them out there, and the few that I've previewed on either YouTube or seen on the internet. I hate to say it, but most of those people aren't researchers. They're just wannabe actors, and I think they're, I don't know. I'll kind of go on record and say I think some of them are in it for a quick buck, and that's it, and a little bit of fame.
Yeah, and I forget where I heard this from, but you should live your own reality and don't live it in somebody else's shoes.
Right.
So, I mean, TV is a tough thing, and I really call TV mind pollution. I love watching my NFL football. The hardest part about watching that football is the commercials in between.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I exactly agree with you. Again, it's I believe that it's helped things out a little bit, and it's kind of moved things forward. One show that I am a big fan of is it airs here in Salt Lake on Sunday nights. I believe it's called Alien Files. I know that John Greenwald and matter of fact Bill Burns is on a few episodes of it. They kind of do commentaries and stuff, and it's one of the more realistic ones of them all, and it kind of stays away from the from the drama. All right, everybody, welcome back to Fringe Radio Show. A little bit of housekeeping before I forget. Coming up here in Salt Lake on the 19th through the 21st, there's an event called Paracon West that's going to be taking place, and quite a few of the different guests that we've had on our program, and MJ, probably you too. Bill Bean is going to be there, Keith Age, Jay Verberg, Scott Grunwald will be here, Travis Hill has been on our show several times, Serenity Moore, plus a lot more coming. It's going to be held at the Maverick Center over off of I-215 and about 35th Street. And again, it's called Paracon West, the 19th through the 21st of June. It's their first time doing this, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's kind of nice to see something a little bit bigger coming to town, and it'll be a 3-day event. Coming up tomorrow night, I think we're going to end up doing a best of. We've got a great guest planned that was planned to be here tomorrow night, but due to scheduling, we're going to have to reschedule a little bit. So I think we will most likely pop out of or a repeat show. But on Thursday night, Steve Cates will be here, better known as Dr. Sky, and I think you'll all enjoy Steve. He's into astrology. He's into astronomy and aviation, and of course, we're going to talk to him quite a bit about MH370. What's your thoughts on that, MJ? On the 777 that's missing?
I really haven't looked at that too much, Pat. Actually,
it's
got me on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. I know there's a lot of different theories out there, and I can't say that I've been following it real close, but it's an interesting one. I don't know how a 777 can disappear like that.
That is weird, though. Definitely weird.
I know some people were talking about it, maybe getting sucked into a black hole into outer space or a UFO grabbing it. I kind of doubt it, but I guess you can leave that fantasy open if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean that's a theory, but with everything, all the technology we have, just not to come up with nothing is weird.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. It is, without a doubt.
Definitely.
Speaking of MUFON, his MUFON moved to handling abduction cases now?
They actually do have a set of individuals that do deal strictly with MUFON cases. Kathleen Martin is actually head of that. Have you ever had Kathleen on your show?
Yes, we have.
Yes, she is. She's great too. But she and other fellow researchers, I believe one is Craig Lang. He's nearby in the Twin Cities, but they do have abduction specialists where they are called in to give you advice as a field investigator. You know, if it does get to the scary part of an abduction in a case. We did have one case locally here where it wasn't too far from her house, where the witness claimed that the ship has been visiting her and the people or the alien type people for 7 years. We did call Kathleen in on the case, and we were going to have a meeting, but we weren't sure if the witness was, you know, creating a hoax or not. So it was tough, but the witness never did reply back after we were going to pull in some big guns. So might have think there was a little less going on there than we thought.
So is she involved with MUFON? Is she kind of the head of the abduction side of things?
I believe she is part of a team. I think the team is between 4 and 6 researchers that do head abduction cases, and what they do is they consult with the field investigators, and definitely are available if they, you know, has to go as far as having a you know, doing something with her or not. But she is definitely part lead on that board.
Do you get abduction cases sent to you as the state director? Do you see some of that come across your desk? So far, I've only seen one. When I was the acting assistant state director, we were able to. I was able to see all the cases come across, and that is the only one that I have seen in Wisconsin come across. Was late last fall, where we thought, you know, that this lady was basically communicating with creatures from another world. That's what she had claimed, but like I said, nothing came out of it, I guess. So there was a lot of fear in the witness's voice too. So it was part of that, maybe ridicule too, and she didn't want anybody else knowing, like neighbors. That's definitely MUFON is confidential, which is another nice thing. Your information isn't going to be spilled over into a newspaper or a third party. Yeah, but now my understanding is we've had him on the phone, Chuck Zukowski. He's kind of MUFON's mutilation expert now, correct? He's kind of the go-to guy for that?
Yeah, I believe Chuck is the mutilation expert, and that's another strange area getting into too. I mean, that could be government related. Right. It's hard to say, but I've heard Chuck on a few different shows, and very interesting. And that to me is just some of the strangest stuff that is going on with these farmers losing cattle and basically any kind of animal to seeing lights in the field before. I mean, it gets really strange out there.
Oh, it does. I know he's a great guy. We had him on last year back in August or September, and he's just a funny guy. I mean, he's comical and so easygoing, and talking about all these different cases. Just some unbelievable stuff, just some amazing stuff that's taken place. But it seems like, again, and Grant Cameron was alluding to this a little bit when we had him here in the studio just about a month ago, how, again, a lot of this stuff, and maybe you would agree with this, a lot of this stuff seems to come in cycles. Now, all of a sudden, you know, it seems like there seems to be quite a bit of the triangular-shaped crafts seem to be the current trend, if you will. You know, people reporting crazy shaped looking crafts, things that you can't even really describe. I saw a couple pictures. I don't know if they were hoaxes or not, but they almost looked like a bunch of plumbing fixtures interconnected. You know, just some really weird stuff.
Yeah, I've just came across a picture on one of the feeds too. It looked like spaghetti in the sky. I mean, it was all bundled together, and someone had taken a picture. But their triangles, you know, seem to be the hot topic these days, and a lot of people do think they are government test aircraft too. And it's really hard to say, but I've heard of, I mean, with my reports, I've heard of everything from cigar shapes to like huge orbs coming into the middle of the road and stopping a car. You know, it's really a strange world out there, and everything's coming in every shape and size, and a lot of orb reports lately too. You know, light balls and stuff like that people can't explain.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that Red said a question, it says, is MUFON strictly in the United States, or are they in Europe and Australia, or is it just a United States and maybe a Canadian foundation?
MUFON is now actually international. The former former head of MUFON, Mr. McDonald, the first name's eluding me, of course, late at night here. He is head of international, and we are trying to get a, there is a representative, at least somebody running the country, running in each country. I believe probably in the 20 or 30. So it is international now. So we're starting to get reports from all over the world. So it may be all coming together for this big disclosure day. You never know.
What do you think about disclosure, MJ? Do you think we'll see it in our lifetime?
You know, I believe we may see it probably by 2050, but you know, it's probably been happening for years. But the mass panic it would cause. I mean, that's probably the main reason our government's keeping a lid on it. You don't know what kind of panic this would create in the United States. You know, we're a closed government compared to other countries that, you know, openly, you know, let people look at their documents. But I believe we may see something very significant happen before the year 2050. But, you know, if we're still closed door by then, there's definitely going to be evidence found before then that's going to prove otherwise.
Well, do you think that the disclosure project that Steve Bassett put together, do you think that helped, it hindered? Do you think it raised awareness? What's your thoughts?
I think it raised, Steve does great work. It always raises awareness, but it seems like it's there and then just fizzles off, and then he'll make another attempt. But I don't know if it's something external forces or something that basically, you know, it's gone and you don't hear much about it. And then he keeps trying and it keeps getting like a closed door on every time he goes through that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It definitely runs up and down. But I think that, again, so many people have taken so many photos. People have seen things in the sky. There's a lot of, mainstream media still tends to, in my opinion, hold back a lot of things. But yet, probably the best evidence of UFOs, if anyone goes out on the internet, take a look at the Beijing UFOs, where the local, stations there actually broadcasted these massive things that were hovering in the air. And some of the photos out of the other countries, there's just some unbelievable stuff. I've seen a few that were filmed in Italy that have appeared over these apartment complexes for months and months. And it's not like they're little lights in the sky. I mean, they're crafts. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's a craft. And again, you just need to take a look at it and make your own decision.
Right, and I think that's the problem with mainstream media. Most of these, if it does make the local news or news story, it's more like it's ridicule instead of dating. So I mean that's the sad thing about today's media. A lot of it is, not taking ufology or anything unknown, seriously. There's always a little song, or they'll play the Star Trek theme before, and
right.
It's kind of sad.
It is. We're coming up to the end of the couple hours. It went way too fast. What do you have on your plate? What's coming up for you?
Coming up for me this Sunday, I'm trying to get one of our friends from Ireland on, formerly of the Irish Ghost Hunters, Gavin. The last name's not hitting me now, but Gavin is a part of the Raven Paranormal over in Ireland, and Ireland has some spooky bars and pubs and old buildings that he was going to come on and talk about some of their new investigations. Week after, I believe I have Abe Del Rio on the first Sunday in April. He's going to be talking about more Minnesota Bigfoot investigations. And Abe does go to Ohio, too, so he kind of travels everywhere. And I believe at the end of April, I have Harry Drew on, who is investigating the Kingman crash in 1953. Harry is great.
Yes, yeah. He is definitely into his work, without a doubt.
Oh, he is.
He is. Mike, I want to thank you so much for taking the time and staying up late. Go ahead and get yourself some rest. People can listen to Mike. His website is Pang Radio. And what time does your show start on Inception Radio on Sunday nights?
We start at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and I always throw in 2 a.m. UK. We've got a lot of UK listeners. Definitely fun people over there.
Sounds great. Well, Mike, thank you so much. It was an honor to have you on tonight. Fun to talk about all the common things that we do and discuss, and I wish you the best. And also, congratulations on the MUFON directorship. I think you, with your dedication, the state of Wisconsin has got a great thing.
Well, I appreciate it, Pat, and I do love Fringe, and I thank you for being part of Inception Radio Network. I mean, you are one of the mainstays of our network, and I appreciate your hard work.
Well, it's an honor to. It's been fun and an honor to be there, and again, we're with a great crowd and all the great listeners. Get yourself some rest. We'll stay in touch, and we'll get you back on again. We need to do an IRN night or maybe a Saturday night. Just get all the hosts on at once.
Oh, that would be fun. I can try to arrange that. At least get 3 of us on. Maybe get some Heidi Hollis on, and she's great with her shadow people. Some great stories from her.
Without a doubt. Mike, take care. Have a good night. Get some rest, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Pat. You have a great morning, too.
All right, you too. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
Good night.